You okay, buddy? Nice. Hercules, the 1997 animated classic about a fallen god who just wants to find where he belongs, become a true hero, and ascend to Mount Olympus. There are many artistic depictions of various mythologies and a boatload about Hercules himself, but none have quite captured my attention like this one with its endearing, heartfelt lessons, catchy songs, and top-notch visual design. You can say a lot of movies are animated, but you can't say they're this animated. So hey, what are you working on? Oh, I'm just animating a perspective shift with two-dimensional drawings, then combining it flawlessly with groundbreaking three-dimensional computer graphics in almost every minute of a feature-length film. Why, what are you doing? Same. I loved this movie as a kid, and I think I like it more as an adult. And if you think that's kind of weird, well, you're the one watching a frog talk about it on the internet, so this is MitchShow. Legends are not born, they're made up by very talented writers who chose to change as many aspects of the original Greek tragedies as they needed to fit the general audience, which in this case was... Oh yes, everything. The insane nature of the original stories led to the renaming of our protagonist Heracles to the more marketable Roman version Hercules, and a very lighthearted version of Greek mythologies with names and likenesses only. Yes, sadly this film, intended mostly for kids, avoided that time Zeus plowed a mortal woman disguised as her husband. Bro, it was just a prank. And the naming of the child born of this incident after his sister wife who may have tried to kill him with 2 snakes. But how would you know unless... They also completely wrote out his non-god twin brother Iphicles, whose children were thrown into a fire by Heracles from which they perished. You know what, I'll say it. Kratos wasn't that bad. Oh, I thought the story sounded familiar. Now you may be asking, why, if you don't want to tell the original tragedies, would you make this? But you and I already know the answer to that. And while it has bothered me in the past when certain liberties were taken with the retelling of a story, really all stories are tall tales, interpreted artistically or not as what someone believes may have happened. The intention with many legends is to impart lessons on us mortals, as we seem to pick up on things like, don't launch your donkey into space unless you have the strength and timing to catch it without looking, when there's a specific story that goes along with it. And through heavy inspiration and many references to the original tragedies, that is exactly what this film aimed to do. The myths and legends of Heracles still don't all align as to whether he was a god, whether he could die, or whether he had an interest in dudes like him. So it's not like these stories were preserved the way they were. The way they were! No. Not this time. If you're not familiar with the plot, I'm so sorry to hear that. You deserve better. But to quickly summarize it, Hades, blue-haired dingus of the underworld, hatches a plot to release the Titans at the planetary alignment for the purposes of taking over Mount Olympus. Unfortunately for him, the fates reveal that his plan would work, but with a very big if. If is good. If is so long as Hercules, son of Zeus, was not allowed to be all grown up, cannot find a place where he belongs, definitely can't become someone's last hope, and is not permitted to go from zero to hero just like that, is what these sisters probably should have said, but unfortunately they have to share a myopic view of the future. Yeah, I'm pretty proud of that one. Hades then sends his least competent strike team to make Herc drink his mortality potion for the purposes of making him dead, but he doesn't drink the last drop. This leaves him a mortal with snake-wrestling godlike strength, and his birth parents are forced to watch him grow up from a farm. And he's raised by his earth parents who, after Hercules nearly manslaughters his entire town, inform him of his godly origins. You are not a god. Okay, maybe just for today. It's then explained by his statue dad that he needs to become a true hero in order to ascend to Mount Olympus, and he's reunited with his childhood buddy Pegasus. Oh yeah, Pegasus! Hold on, wow! After being trained by Philoctetes, he finds himself battling the many-headed Hydra, for which his victory earns him celebrity status that he falsely acknowledges as heroism, as many do. You know who you are. During this time, Meg, a woman whose soul belongs to Hades, is tasked with learning Hercules' weakness, and when confronted with this idea, it creates a rift between him and Phil. And by rift, I mean he nearly kills the guy. Although it looks like we're using cartoon rules, so I think he's oh yeah, no, he's okay, he's fine. Realizing that Meg is in fact that one weakness, Hades makes a super obvious don't worry about it sort of a kind of a deal with Hercules to relinquish his godlike strength, after which Meg's betrayal is revealed. With Hercules out of the way, Hades is free to unleash the Titans on Mount Olympus, setting up the greatest animated battle of all time.
Disappointed!
Demoralized, betrayed, and weak like us mortals, how does it feel, Hercules? Our protagonist still attempts to defend the city of Thebes, where he's used as a herky sack. Hercules is then encouraged by the return of his entourage to defeat the Cyclops with a classic tying of the shoelaces and falling to their death gag, and a sacrifice from Meg restores Hercules' strength, which he uses to free the gods and hurl the Titans into space. Defeated, Hades retreats to the underworld, where Hercules proposes a deal to take Meg's place in the River of Souls as long as he can retrieve hers. And as his life is drained and Hercules' thread is just about to be cut, it becomes impervious as his sacrifice made him a true hero, allowing him to emerge from the well a god. Hades then makes the mistake of touching Meg's soul, and Hercules launches him into the river, where he's dragged down the vortex while a toilet flushing sound plays. Hercules ascends to Mount Olympus a true hero and is finally welcomed to the home he was ripped away from as a child. But realizing his ascension couldn't include Meg by his side, he instead chooses to return to Earth, as he had finally found where he belongs. I'm not crying, you're crying. Oh, you're actually crying. Are you okay, buddy? Oh, right, the movie. Heroism is a central theme of the story, as well as violence, because violence is funny. Violence is cool. Don't engage in violence, although your heroes on TV use it, but violence is great. Heroes use violence to defeat evil. What's wrong with violence? But don't use it, but you can to save people that you love. Did you get all that? Good. Both the character Hercules and the film Hercules loosely follow the hero's journey, a popular structure for many stories in which the protagonist returns to the same place they began, having learned and lost along the way to finding enlightenment. In this case, he was literally enlightened. Hey, what are you doing? Huh? Get down from there. We're like halfway through the video. We do not have time for this. Hercules is a very naive young lad who thinks that pursuing battle on its own is the key to being a hero. But as we see throughout the film, fighting baddies is actually an easy thing for him to do with his outer strength, something he was given, not something that he earned. But inner strength comes from doing what is difficult, persevering against the odds, and maintaining a smile when people call it your little YouTube channel. Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Because the people of Thebes can't fight monsters themselves, they perceive Hercules' victory over the Hydra as a heroic act. But Hercules was born extraordinary, and so he needed an extraordinary test. Now, the skeptic part of me wonders if he was aware that jumping into the river would be the thing that saved him from the river, and whether he would have had to still return to the underworld as per their agreement. But the lawyer part of me says that this contract was made in bad faith, and previous contracts were sealed with a handshake, which did not take place here, and your honor, if you'll allow it. That this deal was made with Hercules the mortal, and the person that emerged from the river was in fact Hercules the god, making this contract null and void. also worth noting that Hercules defeated a Titan without his godlike strength, likely believing he would die for the people of Thebes, which arguably makes him a true hero, but I prefer this part even if it takes place in a river of cheese. Don't touch it. It's not real cheese. Hercules sings one of my favorites, Go the Distance, a beautiful song about his hopes and dreams that I can't play for you ever since the incident.
Or no. Or no. You know that, buddy. Don't do this.
But we do have a very similar song with some surprisingly specific lyrics.
He's going the distance. He's going for speed. She's all alone in a time of need. Because he's racing and pacing and plotting the course. He's fighting and biting and riding on his horse. He's going the distance.
Of course, the hero's journey usually involves the mentor, which in this case is Philoctetes, or Phil, played by DeVito. We meet Phil in his pursuit of young nymphs in the forest, where he explains that he is a satyr, but I think it's pronounced predator. Hello? Phil, is that you? Phil is a former champion trainer who, in his words, is more of an advisor and a good merchandiser. Hercules already had the strength he would need, so his role is more to inspire and to give Danny DeVito a chance to practice being Frank Reynolds.
You guys all think I'm a hero, and I'll accept that responsibility.
This one's probably a bad take. I just love the idea that he got a god to change him into a human and then move to Philly. Phil moves to Philly? Huh? They can't all be good theories. Phil sings One Last Hope, a song about how he had given up on his dream of being remembered as that guy what made the guy that has stars shaped after him. And who am I to judge? My dream is to make enough money pretending to be an overly analytical funny frog man that I can afford things like food. This video will not make money, so please put the glad in Gladiator by hitting all those good buttons and consider becoming a patron. Also, my brother and I do a show where we play video games, but we should probably get back to Phil. Despite this huge opportunity, Phil considers training Hercules as more of a burden, and he actually refuses until he's pressured into it by the threat of violence. Which is funny! Phil is deeply flawed and plays quite well as the opposite of Hercules, jaded, aggressive, and not shy around women. It isn't outright said, but the fact that he gives up on Herc after just one fight implies that he probably did this with all of his previous students. You know what, maybe I'm being too harsh on the guy. Maybe he's just an adorable little knucklehead. Oh! He's horny! Oh, I'm embarrassed it took this long for me to figure that out. After Phil's jaunty tune with a training montage, Hercules hears a stock scream sound and we're introduced to Megara, or Meg, or my little Meg. We meet Meg as she's being manhandled by Nessus the River Guardian, who is aggressively pursuing a romantic activity in which she has vocalized her disinterest in? Can I say it like that? I don't think the bots hurt.
Tiny threat eliminated with that warning. Mission accomplished. We are always watching. Sleepy time now.
Meg, who is quite bored by the whole thing, actually refuses help as her previous Hercules-shaped boyfriend left her for another woman. All of the men in Meg's life are gross, controlling, or lack loyalty, which makes her betrayal later even more painful, as she did it to one of the only honest people she's ever met. This is a really devastating moment in the movie. I just really like this shot. It's a great movie. She would later sing about how she is not going to fall in love with Herc despite having already fallen in love with him, keeping with the main character's song theme of honest, relatable motivations. The other three songs are sung by the Muses, 5 sassy singing females that function as a very fun exposition device, or devaz, particularly with the song Zero to Hero, which included such pop culture references as Marilyn Monroe and credit cards? You couldn't use credit cards in sword times. They'd be like,
Who are you? I am from ancient Greece.
I really like the inclusion of mass production by miserable people. Is Disney known for that? I don't think they are. I mean, they probably wouldn't put it in the movie if they were, right? Oh, who am I kidding? You just want to dance. The opening song, The Gospel Truth, was broken up into 3 parts, brilliantly fading in and out of story beats. It also reads like pro-God propaganda, where it's explained that back in the day, Titans were gooping and smashing all over people, and then they were imprisoned by the heroic Zeus, described as being too type A to just relax. Yeah, I'd say strapping a guy to a rock and bringing him back to life each day after an eagle eats his liver to be considered no chill. It's then completely glossed over that Hades has been outcasted from the other gods for a job he was forced into by Zeus, who is genuinely surprised by his betrayal later. Oh yeah? Hades, your brother who you banished to the underworld. Blue flames coming off the top of his head, smoky, dark clouds at the bottom. Hades, who has a chariot but chooses to ferry over the dam so he can hit them with fireballs. Hades, guy who has a whole room just for his mortality potion, and you're surprised that that guy betrayed you, or is there something else going on here? Zeus is seen as this super capable king of gods, but if he really wanted to deal with the Titans, he'd have fired them into space. But instead, he put them in a super secure prison underwater for ultra bad Titans. Kinda weird how there was a space timer on that thing that lines up right when his son needs to be tested as a true hero. Guess who signs the paychecks of the guy who aligned those stars? I'm thinking every so often the 2 brothers get together and they fix a little uprising. You know, reinforce Zeus's reign over the other gods. They don't even put up a fight. If this isn't scripted, then these gods kinda suck. I mean, long may they reign, or whatever. Also, are we sure the Titans are really bad, or were they set up to fail with inappropriately assigned jobs? You can't just plop the elements down in the middle of a farm field. People don't like that. You need to put these aces in their places, my guy. This is actually a consistent thing with Hades, sending unqualified people to do jobs he's unwilling to do himself. When Pain and Panic failed to make Hercules mortal, they lie to him about it. And can you blame them? He tends to eviscerate entire forests when he gets mad. I can't imagine why his employees aren't honest with the guy, and also, he really should have known that Twisty Tom over here had the potential to ruin his entire plan. Hades is responsible for the setup, but takes no accountability for the outcome. He's a serial blamer, a manager but not a leader, feeling superior by surrounding himself with those he considers inferior, and you really are who you associate with. Even his 3-headed dog is only loyal to the meat. And another thing. Oh. How long has that been on? Thanks, buddy. From the hip-shaking music to the truly expert animations, inspiring background design, extraordinary compositing of 3D and 2D, wispy warping effects, and every second of Hades, the aces were certainly in their places on this one. For some reason, this film spoke to me in a way that it didn't when I was a child, and I know some people will say you're a dum-dum for finding lessons in kids' movies with unrealistic outcomes, and you might be right about some of those things. But life's a wacky thing that sometimes has you knocking over entire marketplaces in one moment and sacrificing yourself for a woman with perfect proportions in a river of death in the next. So it's okay to find wisdom or inspiration in a movie, even if it's barely based on the ancient tales from back when people had no arms. Weird, how do they sculpt these? I know it's cheesy, but my takeaway is that we're all headed to that big toilet underground, and it's what we accomplish, the lives we affect, and the Titans' heads we explode on the way there that really counts. It's easy to get bogged down by what seems like insurmountable odds, but you'll never know if you can go the distance if you never start your adventure. Some things in life are themselves worth the effort regardless of what the outcome may be. Pursuits that by the time you achieve them, you will no longer need the accolades that they bring, because it wasn't about the destination. It was about the journey, the wisdom you gained, the loss of the things you thought you'd need, and the richness added by the people to enjoy it with. And the money! And the money. Thanks for watching. You listening to Linkin Park right now? Can I Oh, thanks.
Wear my slippers.